One boy went to China. Three boys went to Japan. They were everywhere, and they were learning about the world, and they would bring this knowledge back to the kingdom so that our Hawaii could grow and expand its international relations. Well, with the 1887 Constitution, that all evaporated, and all these guys came home. And the young man who was in an Italian artillery school, his name was Robert Kalani Hiapo Wilcox, or Vilikoki, as the Hawaiians called him. And he knew he was facing 500 Honolulu rifles, and he called upon the warriors he could gather. There were 60 of them. And they stormed the Iolani Palace, made sure the king was not there, and they took possession of the palace and defied the 500 rifles. I called them Kakou. And this, for me, was a really milestone moment to know that our Hawaiians were really politically active and very, very much involved with the kingdom and saving their nation. Aloha in the hoki e, aloha in the hoki e. Kamama kahua me na maleleula, malaku kabao le aliki olani. Kamama kahua I pai o vivo le kuwe gaene o kamo I e ke amuni o pauli. Ho'ohuli kamama kahua I ua pohe. Kalau o Hawaii, kamama kakau. Ale poinai, no lalo vivole. Aloha noi aloha liki e. Kamama kakaua, kipula e kaua. Kamama peo kaina, aloha ina hoki e. Aloha ina hoki e. Kamama kakaua no no ku e. Ulala ku e ku e ku e. Kamama kakaua no yaliki ku e. Ku e ku e. Kamama kakaua ku e ku e. Malo yaliki koa ku e ku e. Kamama kakaua. Ku. Kamama kakaua. Well, after that trouble in the kingdom, our king was suffering in ill health, and he left for San Francisco, California to go get some doctoring, kauka. I wanted you to know that I had to change some of my songs because Olomana was on, and two of the songs I was going to sing were being sung already, so I'm changing my program as I stand here. Anyway, one of the songs you heard was entitled Ipule Manu, and that was a song that our Queen Kapi'olani wrote, expressing her love for her kalakua who was departing from Honolulu and went to San Francisco, as I said, for the medication and other matters. She wanted him to hear this song so much. She was unaware that he had died while in San Francisco. Well, in San Francisco, it's the Palace Hotel. So any of you have gone to San Francisco, there is still a Palace Hotel, but it's the newer version. The original one burned down when they had that San Francisco earthquake and everything went crazy. And so no one knew. We didn't have telephones. We didn't have any of the mass communication we got today. So no one knew that our king had passed away. And his remains were being brought back on the USS Charleston. And it wasn't until the Charleston passed Diamond Head, or Leahi, and they were telegraphing the message from the shipboard using flags or lights or whatever they used in that time. The town, all of Honolulu town, was festooned with, when they knew the ship was coming, before they heard the message, they built these arches of triumph over the street. Flowers and pictures of the king and celebrating him and welcoming him back with aloha. And then the word spread, our king is dead. Nalo Ohana was then the sign that was put up over these arches, and black crepe or black material was wrapped entirely around the archways, and the entire city went into mourning because in Kalakaua, the great king for all people, was not dead. And so his sister, designated as the heir apparent, Liliu'okalani, became queen. She was approached by the Hawaiian people, the citizenry of Hawaiians, who had gathered and said, we have to do something about this bayonet constitution. So they authored a constitution that was really, in fact, the people's constitution, and brought it to her. And she wanted to promulgate it or introduce it, planned on it and worked with the cabinet. The word got out to the pro-annexationists and all of those who were totally against the Hawaiian nationalism and national spirit. And then you had John L. Stevens, who was the minister attached to Hawaii. He was not a man of the cloth. They referred to those diplomats as ministers. And he was in cahoots with Lauren Thurston again, and he called off this U.S. minister called Marines, a detachment of Marines off the ship called the USS Boston, because they said, oh, American lives are in danger, citizenry is in disarray, we have to stop the Queen. Well, they did stop her and dethroned her. And those who know the history know that she didn't go quietly in the night. She actually wrote a letter and signed when she vacated the throne. She says, until such time as America restores me and knows the true story. Anyway, Hawaii went from this bloodless revolution to what they called the provisional government. Hawaiians referred to them as the PGs. And so this next song was born out of that PG, very short months after the January 17th, 1893 revolution. And the Royal Hawaiian Band had served the Hawaiian monarchy and the kingdom for generations. And then the provisional government stepped up and said, well, you musicians are going to have to sign a new contract with us. And they totally refused. They ran away, said, we won't play for you. And he says, well, the bandmaster, well, you guys are going to eat rocks. Go ahead, eat rocks, don't play. Hey, musicians, doesn't that sound familiar? Don't play, go eat rocks. Anyway, it led to them going to the home of Ellen Prendergast. Ellen was one of the ladies-in-waiting to Queen Liliu'okalani. And they pleaded with her to write a song. this song. Kaulana Na Pua o Hawaii. Famous are the people of Hawaii. Kupa'a mahope o ka'aina. Ever loyal to the land, to their country. Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino. Comes the evil-hearted messenger. Pala pala anunu me ka paka. With his document of extortion. Kaulana Na Pua o Hawaii. Ea Kupa'a mahope o ka'aina. Ea Ki mai ka elele o ka loko ino. Pala pala nunu me ka paka. Pane mai Hawaii moko o ke awe. Hawaii Island answers. Island of ancient King Ke Awe. O kua ngā honoa o Pi'ilani. The bays of Pi'ilani and Maui lend their support. Hako o mai Kauai o Mano. Support comes from Kauai of King Mano Kalani Po. Pa'apu me ke one o Kahumoku, standing firm and tight like the sands of Oahu's Kahumoku. Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke awe. Ea Kokua na hondoa o Pi'ilani. Ea Kaku o mai Kauai o Mahalo. Oh Apu me ke honi o Kahumoku. Haolea I tauita pulima. No one will sign, put their signature to the document. Aolea e tauita pulima. Aolea e tauita pulima. Ika pukala a ke au puli. Ika pukala ke au puli. Ualava mako ika po aku. Ika po aku. Ika po aku. Ai ka maha o ka ai. Ai ka maha o ai. Ai ka maha ai. Aole mako ai mina mina. We do not value the pukala o ke o puki, the sums of money of this government. We prefer to eat the stones, the astonishing food of our Hawaiian land. Aole mako ae mina mina. Aole ako kamulina. Ka pukala ke au puni. Ka pukala ke au puni. Ualava mako ika po aku. Ualava mako ika po aku. Ika ai ka maha o ka aina. Ai ka maha o ka aina. Ai ka maha o ka aina. Mahope mako Liliu'okalani. Mahope mako we stand behind Liliu'okalani. She who has won the rights to the kingdom. Until the crown is placed on her head again. Aloha days of injustice to terminate. How much longer must she wait? How long? Or act upon the apology bill, return the kingdom to our queen that they took from her on January 7, 1893, with a detachment of U.S. Marines on neutral, sovereign Hawaiian kingdom shore. Mahope mako o Liliu'okalani, mahope mako o Liliu'okalani. Aloha ai ka pono kahea, aloha ai ka pono kahea. Haina ia mai ana ka puana, haina ia mai ana ka puana. Ka pope i aloha i ka aina. Mahope mako Liliu'okalani, mahope mako Liliu'okalani. Ola ai ka pono kahea, ola ai ka pono kahea. Haina ia mai ana ka puana, haina ia mai ana ka puana. Ka po'e i aloha i ka aina. Liliu'okalani, Hawaiian sovereignty, Hawaiian sovereignty. Aloha.
Ladies and gentlemen, Palani Vaughn and the King Zone.
Mahalo.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen, nice round of applause for Palani Vaughn and the King Zone.
What a classic, yeah?
We're going to begin to switch the stage for our next performers coming up in just a couple of moments, where we'd like to thank Palani Vaughn for coming out to the Gabby Pahinui Waimanalo Kanikapila.